Okay, good morning, all, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining QModo. We appreciate you being part of this conversation with us on transforming facilities management with mobile plans webinar. We've got a few guests with us today, and we're going to let them introduce themselves. But we appreciate their time, taking time out of their busy schedules to join us. So, Dave, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Dave Beebe, P1 Service. We're homed out of Kansas City or the Lenexa, Kansas area. Been in the facility business now for a little over 20 plus years, and we work with several different facilities as a third-party provider of facility services. Approximately about 200 full-time employees right now.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. And unfortunately, Kelvin Johnson, who is a senior engineer with Cousins in Atlanta, Georgia, could not be with us. He's got the classic issue that he had two people that left the company on Monday, and he is scrambling to make sure that their work is covered. One of them was one of his building managers. He's also right now in the process of implementing QModo, so he's looking forward to his replacements being able to utilize the system to get to know those buildings. And I'm Ed Zunzunegui. I'm head of the customer success. I'll be your host for the webinar. And then Sam, if you'll introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Sam Peng. I'm a 30-plus year veteran in the building and construction environment. I help the customer success team with their implementations with the clients, and as well as work with the developers on functionality of the application.
Thank you, Sam. And Jeff?
I'm a founder and president here at Q. Did 11 years in healthcare in that FM world. So that puts me in the position where I can work closely with Sam too, with the SME team. So thank you all for joining us.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. All right, so we've done the introductions. We're going to go through a few quick slides just to orient everyone on the topic. We'll have questions throughout it, but if you have any questions as we're going through, please feel free to post those, and we'll bring those up towards the end. We'll have a deeper Q&A as some of those questions come to fruition. But I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and let him talk a little bit about what we're seeing today with the status quo. So Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, so like I said, I was in that FM world, so 11 years in healthcare as a facilities director at 3 different systems. And it was at all 3 of those that I the same pain. We did the best job you possibly could in those plan rooms. As a matter of fact, one of them, I remember I just had enough and ordered 100 tubes, put the dates on the tubes, had everything there so you could kind of find everything, but it was always in a space that was too small. You only could have 1 print up on the table, generally 2 at the most in one of the places I was at. So just trying to find the information that you needed in those spaces it was really difficult. And then the one thing that a lot of people that on the team have heard me say so many times is there seems to be this thought that if you work in that space that you know how to read prints, and it's really complicated what's going on there. So when you ask somebody just to go find a shutoff valve on a print on some floor that's a 10-story building, that's not easy to do if you're not comfortable working through that. So there's a whole other schooling that could happen in there, so just even if you are somewhat organized with that, just throwing somebody into that space and telling them to find something, it's really hard to do, so that was the space that I was in, and I saw it, and I just figured that was maybe bad management by me because I didn't get those things organized. But now that we've got Q going in, and all the customers that we're in and all the places that we get to visit, I've realized it's common. It's across the board, across our country and all the places that I've been, that every room that I walk into where their plans are, it's really hard to see the organization there. Some of them are like, I don't even understand how anybody can find anything in some of the spaces I've walked into.
Yeah, not
Uh,
obviously we
you've-
put the worst picture we could find
Yeah.
on the slide. But if I'm hearing you right, Jeff, so there's a physical issue because it's paper and there's a lot of it, right? You have architectural drawings, you have MEPs, but even if you find the right drawing, you're saying there's a secondary issue of then being able to read it and understand what I'm looking at. I found the third floor. This is the plumbing plan. Do I know how to read this? Do I know what the symbols are of what a shutoff valve is? So there's two kind of levels of issues there.
Absolutely.
Dave, kind of in your works, is this kind of what you're seeing across a lot of your customers?
As I grew up in the industry, heck yes, that's actually not the worst I've seen. So
And how do you find that the technicians or the engineers in these facilities, their ability to read the plans? Is it something that does need more training on that or could use more help?
especially in these larger facilities, yes, because they're so fragmented on drawings, and trying to find all the information you need in one place is very difficult. So trying to, match up the controls with the architecturals or the mechanical with architecturals. So yeah, it's, in this day and age, we'd like to try to get the layers on there and turn layers off that we don't need and add layers that we do need.
Yeah. And Sam, I know you've been kind of, in talking to you, you've been on the other side of this where you're handing drawings to people. Is this something, I know you probably wish there were more time to be able to educate them on some of the things that you kind of know, because you get the phone calls later on, right? Hey, you gave me this drawing, but if you could distill, here are the top three things I wish I could teach a tech. Do you have something like that, or what you would think about that you could impart to them, so it'd make it a little bit easier for them to read a drawing?
Right. Well, so when it comes to turning over that box of stuff at the end of a project, I've got everything in it, from the plans, both the design drawings, as-built plans. I give them all the submittal information, operations and maintenance manuals, the test and balance reports, all the things that they need to be able, that an owner needs to be able to manage a building. And sometimes it's a little frustrating to see that information doesn't get down to the facility management group. And once they get it, it may not be organized in the best way for them to use it. A lot of times the project manual tells me how to turn over that information. And it could be a 1 terabyte drive, as you see on the photo on the right, with just folders of information. And the tech would have to learn what is in each of those folders, and then how to be able to go back and forth between the different documents that he needs in order to do his task. So, there's been a lot of, I know, frustration on the part of the engineers. And to your point, Ed, they'll just say, hey, they pick up the phone and call me and say, Sam, where can you find the information on this piece of equipment? And I'll know in my head, and I'll be able to tell them, but how does he do that? And it takes the time for them to go ahead and learn to be able to find that.
Yeah, so even in a case where you're giving it to them digitally, not in the plan picture to the left, where you've actually given them a thumb drive, or you've handed them the information, it's that translation, it seems to be, in talking to all of y'all, from the way the architect speaks and the way the construction folk, the general contractor speaks, to then how the technician speaks, and some of those abbreviations and some of those things get to be lost in translation and don't use, let's say, standard English per se to be able to communicate those things, seems to be part of the issue. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that too, Ed, is it's all well and good if Dave and I are spending some time, and maybe we're designing, we're going to build something out in a hospital he's working in, and we've got time to just sit there and look through it, go back and forth. We're not really in a rush. But when you're in the panic mode, and and it's hitting the fan, and there's water flying or something's down, or in a hospital setting, there's so many things that go down that are just critical. Maybe it's humidity in an OR room. Like, we got to get on this now. And I think that's the moments that I find that there was so much pain in the plan room. Like, I needed this information quick. It was very difficult to find. And that's like I said, there was one of the facilities that I worked in. I tried to organize it the best I could, but it was still paper. And even if it's electronic, right, you just can't get to it as quick as you want to. And I mean, I don't know it all, but I would even challenge Sam, who probably does know it all. It takes time, right, Sam? Especially in the panic mode to find that stuff. So I think that's where we're really falling short.
Yes, I think we've talked a little bit about all of these situations here, right? I think, Jeff, what you just talked about was that time crunch, right? You know, there's time in going to the plan room when you have the convenience and you're not under stress, but you're saying when there is a time crunch and let's say water's flowing, it seems to exacerbate the issue even more in those situations that you've got to leave the problem to go somewhere else to potentially go solve the problem. Somewhat feels, you know, not intuitive there. And Jeff, anything else you hit upon as you look through kind of these topics here?
Yeah, I mean, even the time thing and along, you know, and it goes with a lot of stuff that's in here. We'll go right to the tribal knowledge part of it. One of the hospitals I worked in it was a 1920 attached to a 76, attached to a 94, attached to a 2015. And I walked in one morning through the loading dock, and the 8-foot hallway was a river, and there's just water flying and people are running around. And we could not find the shutoff valve for that. And it was a 2-inch line, so there was a lot of water flying. And this went on for at least a half an hour. And I'm in the plans and I'm digging through and I cannot find it. And I'd run back and think I knew where it was, and I didn't. And it was tribal knowledge. It was a guy that was there for 30 years, walked through the door and saw what was going on, and kind of sat and thoughtfully was going through it. And he remembered when they put the 2015 edition on, for some reason, they had taken that main and brought that through the 2015 edition. And the shutoff was actually in the shop that we worked in. It was right above our heads the whole time. And he walked in there and turned that valve off and shut that water off. And then we could get to work on fixing that, you know. So, I mean, that takes a lot of what you have on this list right here and puts it into one bundle, that one example. But that was probably the best example that I had, you know. And that's really when I started thinking about Q, is those moments when I was working in that space. Like, there has to be a better way to do this. You know, we had a lot of people that really know what they're doing, and we couldn't solve that problem until that individual walked through the door.
And kind of in the old process, would you have then documented that on the, because then that probably spans multiple plans, right? That's just not on one plan, but did you document that kind of in the hard copy, at least so you would have that when that person, as I like to say, hits the lottery or retires and they're gone, you know, you still know that.
You know, and the best that I could do at that time is put a note in the plans, you know, and maybe a sticky note that, you know, the next time it happened is not tomorrow, it's 4 years from then, you know. And then you're trying to remember, what did I do the last time, and where's the sticky note? Or maybe there's not even anybody there that would experience that. So just having that knowledge to transfer on to the next group is just so important.
Jeff, this is Dave. I'd like to add real quick, and the problem with that building is it's probably changed since 2015. In 2020, they did something different, and that no longer applies.
Yep. No, I agree, Dave. You know, and that's one of the things that we're really trying to solve, you know, is the layering of changes, right, inside of the same envelope, really, right? And what happened from there to there to there to there, and where did the mechanical go, and, you know, plumbing and electrical, and you know, as you'll maybe see here later, or we can talk about right now, one of the functions that we have in QModo is being able to have the discipline you're looking for, the year that it was done, and to have all of that really at your fingertips and be able to go from one to the other. So if you don't have that, it's really hard to solve it, right? I mean, you're just banging your head against the wall. And Dave, I mean, what have you? I'm sorry, I was just going to say, no, Dave,
finish your thought.
You've lived in that world for so long. I'm sure that you've got many examples like the one that I was talking about, where you just, it's that hair on fire moment where you can't find it, and you're just like, oh my God, you know, just a little bit of help from somebody.
Yeah, Christmas Eve last year, 4 hours of a 3/4 inch line running down a wall that froze. Yeah. And you know, nobody's working on Christmas Eve, and all of a sudden you have 20 people in there trying to find it. Yeah, I know it very well.
And Dave, what have you seen? I mean, Jeff kind of highlights the sticky note. What are other things that you might have seen of people trying to note this in today's world with paper plans? Is there anything else we're missing, or any kind of situation like that you'd like to bring up?
Well, the only thing we try to do a lot at our locations, because we are a multidiscipline, we do a lot of the building of these, the servicing. We try to build valve tag schedules, or, breaker schedules, everything and anything that controls, water, temperature, electricity, to understand. But in that time of need, it's real handy when you can plan it. And in our business, you got planning moments, but you also have those moments that you never could plan for. They plan for you. So again, it's just always a challenge. I think it will always be a challenge. But having information easily available to everybody on a mobile access, again, that's what I'm looking for, and giving everybody the opportunity. Because again, that experience that you're talking about, Jeff, in a plan room, I can't fit everybody in that room, nor do I want to. But I do have mobile access for every one of our technicians, whether it's mobile, iPads, or a workstation. So.
Yeah, and on the safety side of it, I remember reading an article here recently where somebody turned off a breaker, and it was critical refrigerators that were housing, I forget the medicine, it was pharmaceuticals that basically they turned off, and then everybody was scrambling to find out, okay, we know this is off, which breaker feeds this, right? And they was frantically looking for that breaker and trying to read plans. So there is especially in healthcare, there's a huge safety component to critical items that you got to make sure nobody impacts, or if they are impacted, because mistakes will happen, we're all human, that we can remedy them quickly and easily.
Yeah, absolutely. You're nailing it. There's actually one of the things that I was going to say is, even when that is water flying in a hospital setting like that, you really have to think about, when you touch that valve, when you shut that valve off, what else did I just take water away from? Is it a dialysis room? When you're talking power, where did I steal power from? I think, Ed, we had talked about an example. One of the last hospitals I was in, one of the techs thought he was doing a good thing. There was a slow leak in a pipe, shut down that water and was working on it. Didn't have a fitting to do it. So a few hour span went by. That was the water supply that he shut down, was the water supply for the cooling for one of the main server rooms in the hospital. So he took the cooling away from that server room, which, now you have $1 million worth of servers sitting in a space that has it was super critical, and we got out of it. But you really have to think about what you're doing when you're shutting stuff off to take care of the issue that's at hand. What's downstream of that, especially in a hospital. And again,
Yeah,
Dave,
there's
a lot of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we'll turn it over to Sam now. He's going to walk us through kind of a few real life examples and get into the app to kind of show you what it can do. Sam.
Sure. Thanks, Ed. So let's show you how we can make your facility information more accessible. We pulled together an application that organizes your information and quickly gets you to what you need to know. So I'll switch over to the app. So let me give you a quick overview of just what you're seeing here on the homepage of the app. So we've tried to make this as user-friendly as possible. We've been obsessed with minimizing clicks to get information. You have an area for notes. So throughout the QModo, when you have plans, documents, you can attach notes to those, and those notes can be text, documents, or videos. We have an assets area where we can take the assets from your CMMS system, bring them into QModo, so you'll have access to that asset information, as well as attach things like the manuals, troubleshooting, parts lists, that kind of thing, as well as photos. We have a plans area where you can get into your plans and then be able to interact with them and then move between plans. We have a library area, which is where you would keep all of those other documents that you have: O&M manuals, test and balance reports, product data, safety information, that kind of thing are stored in the library. And we have a task module, which allows you to create work orders and track their completion. We do have the ability to interface with the CMMS. So if your work orders are created over there, they can be brought in over here. And then we have a document management area where engineers can upload documents. And then as managers, you can review those documents and approve them before they become part of your workspace that everybody can see. On the screen, you've got a quick access area where you can customize this to the things that you want to have in that area, as well as a priority information area. And here you'll see there's a place where people can do daily rounds. They've got room specifications, procedures, drawings, and schedules. So it's in this priority area that allows you to access it fairly quickly. And when you're working on specific items, you can actually save them and they'll show up in the saved items area and allow you, quick access back to that document. If you are, say, working on a piece of equipment, you have to go back to the shop, you come back, and you want to pull that up again, it can be in the saved items area, as well as we track all your recently viewed documents, so that if you just went to one and you went away from it, now you want to come back, here's an area that you can get to see those things quickly. So QModo, it works on smartphones, tablets, and laptop desktop computers. And all of this is designed to get you the information that you need quickly. Today, we're going to be focused on plans. So let's go into plans. And the example I'm going to use today is that we heard that the occupant in room GB 508 is feeling warm. This room is on the garden level. So we can go ahead and search garden level. And it'll pull up plans that are related to that garden level of the building. So to find the room, we're going to go ahead and click on the garden level floor plan. And when you're looking at it in this view, it's actually a PDF, so you can zoom in and you can just look at the plan. But if you want to interact with the plan, you click on this button up here that says View Plan. This now brings you to a larger view of the plan. You can zoom in and we can start to look for this GB 508 if we don't already know where it is. And interestingly enough, not all the rooms have room numbers here. So we can zoom back out and you can see up at the top here, we've got some pins, these blue dots here that will take you to other plans that are related to this plan. So we're going to go to the HVAC zones and see if we find the room numbers on that plan. If I zoom in again and start looking for that room, I see that GB 508 is this office that's right here. And this client has taken the time to put some useful information on the plan, this HVAC zone. It shows that this office is being fed by VAV GB 508. And the air handling unit that feeds that VAV is AHU3. Okay, so now that we know where the office is and some basic information on it, one more thing we want to do is know where the thermostat is. So when we go check the temperature in this room, we'll know where the thermostat is to check that as well. So we'll click on the garden level HVAC. And it now takes us to that garden level HVAC plan, and we can zoom in to find the room that we're at. And you see, here's the room. It's partially obscured by the HVAC ductwork, but we see that it looks like the thermostat is in that room next to the door. We can click on that thermostat and it says, yes, it's located in GB 508 and it controls VAV GB 508. And as we said before, we can upload photos, and here's a photo of that thermostat. If we had the manual for this thermostat, we could go ahead and upload that too. But in this case, it looks like this thermostat's pretty easy to operate. Okay, so now it looks like we've got enough information where we can go to that room and take our trusty infrared thermometer. And when we get to the room, We'll measure the temperature of the room. And we want to make sure we do that because many times in my career, I've gone to check on a hot room temperature situation, and the room temperature is actually at the same temperature that the thermostat says it should be, but the person is feeling uncomfortable. And we have to figure out to turn it down or what the best way to help that person feel more comfortable. So when we get to that room, we notice that there's a stained ceiling tile. And we want to go ahead and just make a quick note to make sure that we come back and investigate why that ceiling tile was stained. So we'll go over here to the floor plan and we'll zoom in on that room. We'll use our phone and take a picture of this stained ceiling tile, and about where it is in the room, I can right click and you can see attach note. And I want to create a new note. And I'll say stained ceiling tile. And the note GB 508 research stained tile. And over here, I can click on add media because I took a picture of it. It uploads that photo. I can now save and publish it. And now there's a note on the plan showing this where the stained ceiling tile is. And I can click on that. And again, it'll show me the picture of that stained ceiling tile and where it is in that room to go back and investigate it later. Okay, so we checked the temperature in the room and we realized that it's that there's not air seeming to be coming out from the diffuser and the thermostat is set correctly. So where is the VAV that serves this room? We can zoom back out and go back to that garden level HVAC plan and zoom back in and see here's VAV GB 508. And we can actually click on this VAV and it'll have a picture of the VAV. It'll have a serial number, and we have documents here that you can use to troubleshoot why that VAV might not be pushing air. And you'll be able to use those that information and try to get things back online. So as you can see, the plan's somewhat busy. So if you wanted to look at the plan without the pins in your way, we've got some buttons up here at the top where you can use to turn them off. So if you want to turn off the assets, the notes, and the plans, you'll have the full view of the plan to look at without the busyness. Okay, so if we're working on that VAV and we may want to find out where the panels are to shut off the power to that VAV, we can click on Garden Floor Electric. It takes us to the power plan. We can zoom in and the pins are there for the electrical panels that service the floor. We can click on a panel to get its information. And we can actually look at, because they've taken a picture and attached it, of the panel schedule and know what breakers are controlling what circuits. As we talked about a little bit earlier with the water shutoff situation, we can go to the garden floor plumbing plan. And you can go ahead and pin the locations of all the shutoffs that are on the floor. So for instance, over here in this area, you've got the sprinkler shutoff for the garden level. We can click on that. And sometimes when you go into a room, there might be a lot of valves there. So what they've done in this case is they've actually taken a picture of the valve. And if we enlarge that, you can see they also have labeled it. But that gives you some helpful information when you go to the plan and be able to find the valve quickly and shut off the flow if you need to. So one of the things that this client did is pull together all the HVAC coverage maps. So we were talking before, what serves what area and what shutoffs and cutoffs and things. So they did it for the entire complex. You can see that all the zones and the areas that they cover have been mapped. And if you click on one of them, it'll take you right to that enlarged plan of that area. But also on this plan, you can click on one of the air handling unit asset pins, and it'll pull up that information about the air handling unit that serves that area. That's air handling unit number 3. Here's the makeup air unit number 1. So they made it very easy for somebody if they're trying to troubleshoot a much larger problem. Say, not only are they not getting air in air handling unit number 3, but that air handling unit also serves the first floor over here. So you might have an outage that's covering a bigger area if that air handling unit is affected. So what I've done now is just giving you a look at how, using QModo, we can take your building plans and be able to navigate back and forth between the various disciplines as you're researching something that some incident that you're having to deal with in the field. Now, you might be wondering how all of this information gets into QModo, and that's where Ed and his customer success team comes in. I'll take us back to the presentation.
You're on. I think you're on mute, Ed.
Of course, that had to happen once. Thank you, Sam, for handing it back. But as you can see, we've tried to build into QModo a lot of, to try to take care of a lot of the issues we heard directly from our customers. So this was a capability that came from many customers. Again, being that virtual knowledge base that QModo is, of having more content in there that's beneficial to the teams in the field. And as we talked to earlier, and Dave talked about the examples, and Jeff and Sam did, having this at your fingertips, whether it's on your iPhone, which can be a little bit hard to see, but you can pinch and zoom, or in an iPad, which you have a lot more real estate space, having it at the situation where you might be looking at an issue and not having to run back to the plan room was the primary reason that was designed. And now that it's in the field and folks are using it, we're getting a variety of enhancements that are coming in, and that's a feature that will continue to grow. But as Sam mentioned, one of the things that we pride ourselves on, and all good software companies should have a great customer success team, and we believe we have one here at QModo. But not only do I have a great team that we work with all of our customers on, but having the ability to have a subject matter expert team alongside us, like Jeff and Sam. So my team has great project managers, and they're learning the industry and they can speak it. But having folks like Sam and Jeff that we can lean on to ask questions of, or to bring them in to help during the implementations, or doesn't need to be just during the implementation. It could be a year down the road and something changes and they need help getting information in. That's what our team is here to do. So as I always position it, we become an extension of your own team. We're obviously here to help manage the process. So our folks will work through the project plan. We'll understand your priorities and how you want to implement things. Because even within QModo, it's a lot of content you want to bring in. We eat that apple one bite at a time by saying, what's your most important piece of content you want to bring in? And let's get all that in, and then let's move on to the next one. Not that we can't work things in parallel, and we often do, but we want to make sure we understand that priority. So we're working on the things that are most important for our customers. Our team is here to train and get everybody up to speed. We actually call them orientation sessions because we believe, and now we have feedback from customers, that our app is very easy to use. That's a key tenet of building QModo, is ease of use, ease of use. The app has to be easy to put information in, and it needs to be easy to get information out. Again, while you're in the field, speed is important, and accuracy is important. So we orient you or train you on how to do that. And then, as the last box says here, we're here to assist, not just project manage and do the training, but if you need help getting content into the system, if you need help taking training videos or getting some of that information out of your either in paper or in soft copy and into QModo, we're here to help do that. And we've got ways to do that in bulk that can expedite that. We obviously, in the training piece, we teach all of our customers how to fish and how to do it all on their own. And some love to do that, but some, as all of our customers are, unfortunately, are shorthanded. They're all looking for staff and looking to hire staff. So we're here to help them through that process. So that kind of covers the customer success team. Jeff, Sam, anything else you'd want to add?
The only other thing that we haven't talked about, I think, Ed, is the ability for us to add different views and layers onto the plans that you have. So that meaning, if we're talking life safety, where are every one of your fire extinguishers? Where is every fire door? Where is every fire damper? Where are the exit signs? So when you're doing those surveys, or you're doing that monthly on PM on those, or whatever it may be, knowing exactly where they are so you're not missing anything and going around, and then actually being able to use the plan as the way into it, you know, and have that form embedded right behind the plan, on a pin on a plan. I just feel like that's going to be such a valuable thing for people, especially in larger facilities, just knowing that you're, you know, and that could go to a million different things. You know, we're talking to a couple of higher ed. So you're talking about a campus, small city. Where is every steam trap, you know, in the tunnels that go around there, and what all of those things, you know, and being able to have that in front of you, I think is showing a lot of value. And then Dave, yeah. I'd love to know, you know, from your point of view, you know, we're obviously talking to you and hoping to get Q into a lot of your world. You know, where you're going to see a huge value in what we've shown here today.
Well, again, and the thing that I am very interested in working with you guys on is making a one-stop shop, right? I've started a spreadsheet to try to track, you know, all the different things that we have available to us. I mean, and how easily it is available, how much time it takes. Just turnover alone, you know, is a huge hole that we've got to pass information repetitively, information over and over and over by human touches. And, you know, so that's to me, the world is wide open for what I want to get achieved, and ease and efficiency is the number one thing that we're always trying to look at. And I think the other thing that I'm really excited about, especially with the next generation that's coming on of facility engineers that we're really working hard to attract, is having a using technology versus them having to do it the way that I learned it, quite honestly, that they have no ambition to even try to learn. So that's the part that excites me, or the part that I vision, that how we can leverage this system. There's never going to be one-stop shop in anything. I am convinced of that. You know, we're still going to have a CMMS system. We're still going to have email. We're still going to have all these other things that we're going to have to use. But how can I eliminate? I mean, I've got a list of, at just one location, 20 different things that we use to try to provide information to our engineers, but I would say could be considered on a daily basis. Some of it's not daily, but most everything I'm looking at here, they're going to touch at one period of time during their shift.
Yeah. And Dave, can you expand? What do you think the consequences are? With whether it's the planned content or any of the other content you've identified, kind of in your sheets, of not having that information. What are you kind of seeing into the future? What keeps you up at night as you start to think about this problem, and also in the context of that next generation coming on?
The consequences is not being able to, the big thing that my organization looks at is growth, right? We want to continue to grow. There's only so much, time that any individual has. And the thing that I have learned over my career is I beat my head against the wall a lot, and my head is getting older, and I'm trying to soften that and trying to learn from those experiences that I can expand upon and make it easier and more efficient, like we talked about. I do believe, and again, I've talked with a lot of our young folks that have used the system, and quite honestly, what I'm telling our customers is, what I'm hearing is that if we take something like this away, we're going to have a little bit of a revolt on our hands. They're begging for this, right? We're asking them to do something. All they're asking us in return is give them the tools, the information to be able to do it in an easy way. Let's not make it any harder. There's not enough time in the day to do what we do already. So the consequences, I think, are people-wise. It just ties to the people and everything we do.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that the one thing, I mean, that really was born out of so many times people have learned through calling Dave, right? Well, just call Dave, he knows. Just call Dave, he knows. And you get used to that. Now, when you take employees and you empower them with knowledge, watch out. Like the sky's the limit. So I think that's really our ultimate goal, is empower your employees with knowledge, so then they'll take it to another level all by themselves. And that's really our mission here. So, and I hope that that's what's going to happen with you too, Dave.
Yeah, one of the things too, I'd like to add to that, I'm a big accountability guy. If I give you the tools and information, then I expect you to be able to use that tools and information. And like you said, yeah, I still get phone calls every day. And a lot of times my first response are, did you go look at this? Did you look at your manual? Did you? And I use that because I've learned over the time, if I don't help teach them or train them, they're going to continue to hit that easy button. And that's what I want to create for them, is the easy button. And that easy button is not picking up the phone, calling me or somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple questions here. One thing I did want to note, just for everyone, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our product team would probably want to scold me, is a lot of the stuff you saw that Sam was navigating around. That's a combination of the AI, the artificial intelligence in QModo, and human validation. So a lot of the technology that's come around in the last few years has enabled us to do this, where we can do it more in mass. So when you see some of that, you might be thinking, gosh, to make all those links, all that is a lot of work. Well, we try to make that as easy as possible, depending on how readable those plans are. And you saw some were a little bit more faint than others, but we train our AI to kind of work through that and then have human validation where possible. But Dave, a question for you is that came in is, how often, especially since you go across multiple different types of customers, how often do you see the teams kind of accessing plans or having? Is this something that occurs weekly? Is it more, twice a week? Is it, what are you seeing?
Well, that's daily. I mean, we're in facilities that are growing, that are continue to expand. We're part of new construction, remodel. I walked 2 remodel spaces yesterday. That information, making sure that we see what's behind the wall. So I would tell you, in our world and what I'm used to, the plans are daily. I mean, they're hourly. They're a necessary part of being able to do what we're asked to do.
Okay.
And here's the other thing I will tell you is our challenge. We have, in one of our systems, we have basically a champion of keeping all of our drawings organized, up to date, and it's what I would tell you is impossible. But here's the other thing. Now we're managing architects, engineers, general contractors, subcontractors information, because that comes in from all of them. Not every project we do comes through an architect or comes through an engineering firm. It can come directly from a subcontractor. Managing all that information for even one person is very, very difficult. I mean, again, what I envision is building in the specifications of, or any PO that I give anybody, is that, hey, you don't get paid until I have my information for our engineers to be able to do what they do. And this is where it has to be uploaded, and that checkbox has to be checked, and I'm going to get a notification. I don't need to go double check that. I need somebody to tell me that they've done what was designed and what they signed up for.
Yeah, so you're requiring them to give you the content in a manner that you need it, not just however they're going to throw it over the fence to you. That's going to be easy for you. Yeah.
If they want to get paid. If they don't want to get paid, then they don't have to.
Yeah. No, great. We're starting to see that trend occur more and more. Don't just throw it over the fence. I need it in a way that my engineers, my techs can easily consume it. The other question here is, Dave, how do you deal with basic training for reading plans, or do you offer that to your engineers?
So I would tell you training is one of the very top priorities, right next to safety. How we do it basically is we use a lot of in-house expertise. We've got a matrix built typically of a checkbox of everything, drawings, material management, if you will, information management is a part of that. So we have subject matter experts. For a new engineer, let's say they have this matrix that gets handed to them. That box has to get checked, whether it's awareness, an expert or just competent. So we use a lot of, again, this is one of the things I envision. We use a lot of time, people's time, repetitively doing the same thing over and over again. We basically have teachers within our facilities department. And I think everybody that's in the business that I'm in anyway, or the way I understand it, we hire people to basically maintain, be first responders, may even be installers at some point, and to carve out, let's just say, some of the math I do, that turns out to be, X amount of hours a year that I could turn that back and use it for preventive maintenance, so I don't have to do corrective maintenance. Hey, I'm ahead. That's the way I look at it. And we talked about this. These FTEs are not falling off the truck, just begging us to come to work. We're having to beg them. So I'm trying to find more time, and utilizing technology is one of the leverage points I have with our customers.
Yeah, we actually have somebody else, Dave, that we're talking to a lot about competency across different pieces of equipment, how you conduct yourself safely, including if we're just going to go into the plans, having a competency training inside of QModo for plans, videos included. So the time that you're talking about where this individual that's the pro in your group, he's off doing something else, right? Or she's off doing something else, and this person can get through that themselves. The perfect example that we have, I think, is a hospital that we have in the Twin Cities. They had 2 new hires, and in a couple of weeks, they were telling the other people on that team that we're all set when they were doing the daily rounds in 14 mechanical rooms, because they had all the videos on how to do it. There didn't need to be anybody there. If they had a question, they could look it up themselves. So I think you're right in that we need to think about the time saved for the individuals that are training too.
One of the other big issues too, I'll throw this out because again, healthcare is a big market that we cover, and any regulatory, Joint Commission, anybody else that's in the healthcare world understands Joint Commission, CMMS, the regulatory side of this. We have had surveyors come in and ask that same question: is how do I know that you have a competent staff? I mean, I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I'm talking about using right now. I want something that I can spit out a report and show them in a timely manner that here's our staff. This is what they've been trained on. Here's when they've been trained. This is what they've been checked. I don't like going and have to find an Excel folder for each individual saying this is what Dave Beebe's been trained on. So And that's coming. I mean, regulatory again is huge on making sure that we're following, just the proper procedures for preventive maintenance that comes from the O&M manual. How does a surveyor know if he comes in that we even follow a process or a person is available to be able to have that information?
Yeah. Sam, Jeff, anything else to add or any other questions for Dave?
Well, that's it for me. Just thank you so much, Dave. The wealth of knowledge has been a pleasure to have on here with us.
No, appreciate it, guys.
No, thank you. On behalf of QModo, I want to thank Dave, Sam, and Jeff for being a part of this. We appreciate all the questions and everyone's time. We thank you very much. And Dave, again, just like Jeff said, we want to thank you again. We know you're a busy guy and we appreciate you taking time out of the schedule. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Anytime. Have a great day.
All right.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone.